Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to our speech with Andrew Boothroyd today. So just before we get started, I just wanted to let you know a little bit about Andrew. So Andrew is the Head of Logistics Engineering and Future Solutions at Mclaren Automotive. Andrew is a senior operation and supply chain leader possessing both strategic and operational experience, who is commercially astute with strong business acumen. Before being appointed as Head of Logistics at Mclaren, Andrew started in the company as a senior manager. So his speech today will focus on the firm's relationship with local Midlands manufacturers who helped with the latest and fastest Mclaren supercar. So just before I hand over to Andrew, I just wanted to let you know that you're here at Back in Britain Live today. And if you haven't already, make sure to head over to backinbritain.com in order to view the exhibition, have a look around stands. So I won't keep you any longer. It's 12 o'clock, so I'll hand over to Andrew. Thank you.
Thank you, Yasmin. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to day 4 of the Back in Britain 2020 virtual conference. As Yasmin said, my name is Andrew Boothroyd and I am the Head of Logistics Engineering and Future Solutions at Mclaren Automotive. My team and I are responsible for the processes and the equipment required to transport parts and components from our supply base to the operators working on the production line at the Mclaren Production Centre in Woking. During a normal working week, we would have been busy working on creating packaging concepts, managing logistics networks, creating warehouse layouts, designing equipment, monitoring data accuracy, and writing logistics and manufacturing processes. Like most of you, I have spent the last 6 months reacting to the changing landscape created by the COVID-19 pandemic. During this webinar, I will be reflecting on my experience of 2020 so far, and sharing with you some of the stories about some of the smaller Midlands-based companies that I've had the pleasure to work with so far this year. And for those of us, our colleagues in Yorkshire, I also want to quickly introduce you to our new Composite Technology Centre, which is located between Sheffield and Rotherham. Unfortunately, I don't have any fancy slides to share with you today. Instead, I'm going to be pointing you in the direction of a lot of online content, whether it's videos or news stories. So if you can, do get a pen and paper ready so that as and when I make reference to some of this, you can make notes to some of the links. Alternatively, you can probably use the chat later on, or the networking event this afternoon, the drinks session, or get in contact via email with the Back in Britain team. And I'll make sure that if you did miss any of the links, that I can point you in the right direction. So what does Made in the Midlands mean to me? Well, I am a Midlands lad. I was brought up in Nottinghamshire, and I then went on to study aerospace engineering in Coventry, where I got to study alongside employees from companies such as Rolls-Royce and JLR, amongst other significant Midlands-based engineering companies. I have spent most of my career working within the logistics and supply chain, both in manufacturing and maintenance, predominantly within the aerospace and automotive industry, both here in the UK and overseas. I have been lucky enough to work with suppliers and engineering companies all around the world, having previously worked for companies such as Airbus, British Airways, Virgin Atlantic, and EasyJet. As we approach 2021, recovering from the implications of lockdown and preparing for the new import and export challenges of Brexit, it is a pleasure to join you all this afternoon as part of the Back in Britain Manufacturing and Engineering Virtual Conference. Okay, so let's rewind to January 2020. The team and I are sat in a conference room in the Mclaren Production Centre here in Woking, cutting a cake to celebrate the achievement of building the fastest Mclaren ever. It's called the it's a three-seater hybrid hypercar, and it's now known as the Speedtail. Sitting here, there's a lot to celebrate with the team. There's a team of test engineers and test drivers who have just returned from spending the winter testing season at the shuttle landing facility at the Kennedy Space Center in the US. Making use of one of the longest runways in the world, they have managed to benchmark the top speed of the Speedtail over 30 runs at an average of 250 miles per hour. In recognition of this achievement, the team are being treated to a private preview of a recently recorded Top Gear episode where Chris Harris is racing the Speedtail against the Lockheed Martin F-35 Lightning II fighter jet. It is at this moment that I look through the glass walls, overlooking the production line at McLaren, and think, wow, I have been very fortunate over the last 2 years to get to be involved in this project. If you haven't yet seen any of the videos of Top Gear, you can go online to either YouTube or the McLaren website or the Top Gear website, and you'll be able to see videos that show both the 250-mile achievement of the Speedtail over in the Kennedy Space Center, and also the Top Gear video of them racing the Speedtail against the McLaren F-35. The Speedtail project has quite rightly attracted the imagination of the automotive and engineering media. On the Top Gear website, you can also find an article written by Stephen Doby, and it's called Sonic and Tails. In the article, Stephen compares the Lockheed Martin F-35 production line in Fort Worth, Texas, with the McLaren Speedtail production line here in Woking. As I read through the article online, I can't help but notice that beyond the fascinating photos of hypercars and fighter jets are some remarkable photos of the McLaren production centre. Specifically, there are numerous photos of stillages. They're full of components, and one of them is a super stillage. It's providing a temporary home for the body panels of a bright blue Speedtail, sat right in the middle of the production line, waiting for a chassis to arrive to bring that particular Speedtail to life. And it's those stillages that I want to talk to you about today. They are actually made in the Midlands by a company called Acres Creative Engineered Solutions, who are based in Melbourne in Derbyshire. Acres are a tier 1 supplier to McLaren, but more than that, they are a partner to our ongoing development and success. Acres specialise in kitting media and production support equipment aimed at driving quality, health and safety, and productivity improvements. Their products have improved how materials and sub-assemblies are handled, ensuring that the parts are presented in an efficient and ergonomic way to the operators working on the Speedtail. Acres products are designed with the same attention to detail as one of McLaren's supercars. I have often sat with the designers and the management team and the quality inspectors at Acres, talking about the quality of the welds, the finish of the product, the casters, the handles, the mechanisms that allow the handles to move up and down, the way that the drawers open and close, how the operator will use the trolley, the quality of the paint finish, the way that sometimes the trolleys get damaged when they hit each other and how we can protect that moving forward. And they've always been very responsive to my demanding needs and that of the McLaren brand. Typically, they improve the visibility of components and allow for any shortages to be identified much earlier in the build process. Together, we have designed and manufactured modular solutions that improve standardization, reduces the risk of damage, helps to eliminate waste, and designed to support future projects by making them more sustainable and cost-effective than any previous equipment that we've used before. If you're interested in what it's like to work at McLaren, online you'll find a video that was published for April Fool's Day in 2018, and it's called The Myth. It actually focuses on what it's really like to work inside the McLaren production centre. And yes, we do actually measure the floor tiles. One of the Speedtail projects that Acres worked on with McLaren was a super huge body stillage. This was no ordinary stillage, as it was designed to transport, protect, and present the largest carbon fibre part ever fitted to a McLaren car. Working together with Acres during the concept and design stage, we could never have imagined that this stillage would ultimately be featured in a Top Gear magazine alongside an F-35 fighter plane being compared to the Lockheed Martin factory. The teams from Mclaren and Acres had a project kickoff meeting to discuss the critical areas of the components, where it could be supported, and which surfaces may be at increased risk of being marked. It was critical to hold the part in a way that could prevent damage, whilst presenting it in the most efficient way for the Mclaren logistics and production teams. It is this passion for joint success and continual improvement that makes the Mclaren-Acres relationship so special. The strength of the relationship is that Acres have become an extension of the team and share the excitement for the future vision. As the Mclaren team huddled around the screen to watch the Speedtail versus the F-35, so did Acres at their base in Melbourne, Derbyshire. At the onset of COVID-19, Acres demonstrated its ability to transition into safety equipment market, providing screens and hand-free equipment to the retail and hospitality sectors. Using this to continue operating during the challenging period, Acres built a platform of strength and used its PR machine to broadcast what they were doing and that they were an active, relevant supplier. It has since seen an impressive recovery and has recently supported us on a critical time-sensitive project. I wanted to share Acres details with you today because they are a key supplier to my business and they are planning to launch new products. They are a key supplier to businesses that are planning to launch new products, change a process, or set up a new facility. They bring a fresh perspective from working across numerous industry sectors and have experience of working with some of the UK's most talented individuals from a wide spectrum of engineering and manufacturing backgrounds. The Mclaren-Acres relationship is an example of how businesses should work together to strive for continual improvement and project excellence. This is an example of how we together are backing Britain. A few months later, the Mclaren racing team are preparing to start the F1 season in another Melbourne, down in Australia. It's the middle of March and the COVID-19 pandemic is spreading through Asia, Australia, the Middle East and parts of Europe. News comes through to the factory that one of our Mclaren colleagues has tested positive for COVID-19 in Australia, quickly followed by the announcement that the team have withdrawn from the race 24 hours later. The news that the Grand Prix had then been cancelled. We were now in a situation where we had colleagues in quarantine in Australia, away from home and their family. We had the logistical challenge of retrieving our cars and equipment from the other side of the world, and the ongoing requirement to repatriate not only the F1 team from Australia, but also numerous other Mclaren employees located around the world. I remember the strange feeling of reacting to the unknown. I had a number of suppliers in Italy who had already shut down, and I was also facing the challenge of getting the last parts out of their facilities and working closely with our transport companies to get the parts across borders and into the UK. By this time, we had followed the UK government's guidelines to work from home where we could, and a week later, the UK went into lockdown and our factory closed. Shortly afterwards, the UK government launched the Ventilator Challenge Uk, a consortium of UK industrial technology and engineering businesses from across both the aerospace and automotive, medical sectors, all came together to produce medical ventilators. Mclaren worked on a number of projects as part of the Ventilator Challenge, including the design and manufacture of trolleys to carry and transport the Penlon device in intensive care units, and also the reverse engineering and manufacture of test equipment to support the testing of Smith's device, to ensure they could be tested and certified before being sent to the NHS for use by the first responders. If you'd like more information regarding the Mclaren ventilator project, please visit the Mclaren website, where you'll be able to find various behind the scenes videos available to watch on YouTube. Alongside the efforts of the Formula One teams, over 20 Midlands aerospace manufacturers also stepped up to the Ventilator Challenge UK and really did go above and beyond to support the cause, some of which were working night and day to meet the ambitious targets. It wasn't just the well-known aerospace and automotive brands that were helping. Companies up and down the supply chain worked hard to help ensure the country had enough ventilators, including suppliers of raw materials, makers of tooling, cutting machines, metal machinists, spring makers, and companies putting special surface finishes on parts. One of those companies was Midlands-based manufacturer Bonham, who produced essential components needed for the assembly of ventilators after receiving a message through LinkedIn one Saturday afternoon from Rolls-Royce. In order to fulfill the order for thousands of plastic and metal components for the Central Ventilator Challenge, Bonham ran up to 3 shifts per day working flat out in machining, quality and inspection. Talking to the team at Bonham, they told me it was all about responsiveness. They received a LinkedIn message early afternoon on Saturday the 28th of March, and within the hour, drawings were sent through and they were looking at the vast number of parts which needed machining within a week. By Sunday morning, they had assembled a team to program the drawings onto the machines, to get the parts estimated, and to put a quotation into Rolls-Royce. They were given the go-ahead, and the parts were ready to go for the first batch Sunday evening. The team had to create new inspection methods to gain a high level of statistical process control to ensure that the machines running 3 shifts would maintain the highest quality levels. The parts produced by Bonham were used to assemble ventilators at GKN in the Isle of Wight and Bristol, and would later go on to be used at major hospitals up and down the country. As a result of the Ventilator Challenge, Bonham did not shut down their factory and instead used their time to completely change their production process, resulting in saving them 2 weeks lead time for their core components. Talking about how it felt to be part of the central effort to produce the ventilators, I'd like to read a quote from Charles Bonham. "At the end of it all, we had a fantastic sense of achievement and great teamwork. I would like to offer my thanks to the team at Rolls-Royce for involving us and who worked tirelessly, putting in long hours on the challenging project for weeks." I'll come back to teamwork and managing ourselves in a bit of people section later on. Bonham is a leading manufacturer of supplier tooling components and precision engineered components. They have a virtual stand here at the Back in Britain conference and are open to supporting new and existing customers. They are looking to diversify their business into new markets such as medical, and during the pandemic have invested in new machinery, processes and equipment to do this. If you would like to find out more about Bonham, please use the opportunity to network with Charles and Pete during the conference or through the Made in the Midlands team. Talking about adapting, my next job was to lead the team at Mclaren Production Centre to reopen the factory in line with social distancing and government guidelines on creating a COVID-secure environment. Using our experience from working during the lockdown on the ventilator projects and our experience of returning to Formula One, Mclaren was in a fortunate position to be able to restart production as soon as our new safe ways of working were in place. Again, we had to adapt. For example, some examples of social distancing. Before people come to work, they have to take a health questionnaire. If they have no symptoms, when they arrive at work, they follow the 2-meter separation rules. We've instigated staggered start and break times. We've put in place hand sanitizers, and colleagues are reminded to wash their hands. We've done a complete review of all of our risk assessments and made available the correct PPE and face masks as required. Acres has also had to adapt. They now sell a wide range of products to support health, safety and well-being. So coming back to people and teamwork, well, for us at Mclaren now, it's time to reflect. It's been a busy 6 months to the start of the year, and a lot of people are either unenergized or have just come back off furlough. Mclaren as well, being a Formula One team, put a lot of emphasis on human performance. We focus on fatigue and burnout. And again, there's lots of information on mental health, fatigue, and burnout available online. Some of this is through what McLaren calls McLaren mentors, but also there are a lot of individual people out there now that are putting HR type, people-focused videos and content available for everybody to use. Myself, I've worked from home over the entire period, and having spent lots of time working in my spare room, have missed the opportunity to get out and about and the exercise that I would normally achieve just by walking around the factory and the warehouses. So I have put a lot of time and effort recently into managing myself, managing my energy, and also monitoring the stress levels of my team. The next priority for us is to energize and focus so that we are ready to adapt to the changing environment that the rest of this year brings and moving into 2021. At this point, I'd like to just mention a delicate question that has come in, and it's come from Vanessa Johnson. And Vanessa's question is, can I explain the rationale behind McLaren's strategy to focus on their new and more elite supercars and electric models in the future, and whether this is working for them in light of COVID and the changing environment the car industry faces? So why do we build supercars? Well, it's in our DNA. It's part of the legacy left behind by our founder, Bruce McLaren. McLaren at heart is an entertainment company. It's all about sharing our knowledge and experience from Formula One and allowing our customers to experience this feeling and technology for themselves, both on the road and on the track. McLaren is a pioneering engineering, manufacturing and technology company that is bringing F1 technology to the automotive industry. If you are interested in finding out more about our founder, Bruce McLaren, there is a brilliant documentary film about his life called McLaren. Also on the McLaren website are a series of short videos called McLaren Tech Club, where our employees talk about the various roles they have within McLaren. One of them is about the new 620R and how McLaren made a motorsport car road legal. In the short term, our strategy hasn't changed. This year we will have released the 620R, the 765LT and the Elva, all of which are available to buy now. In the longer term, COVID-19 won't change the strategy within automotive to move towards electric vehicles. This strategy is influenced by consumer demand, sustainability, legislation, and ultimately technology. If you do want to hear more about the hybrid technology, there is another McLaren Tech Club video, and it's hosted by a colleague of mine, Dr. Sunaj George, where he describes the Speedtail's pioneering battery technology. My personal view is slightly different. Having come from an airline background, I noticed that EasyJet and Airbus are talking about electric planes. However, Virgin and Boeing are focused on biofuel technology. I believe both technologies will ultimately have a place in automotive, both on the road and on the track. However, there are still years of development work ahead of us because at this moment, battery technology still adds a lot of weight to a car. The priority for McLaren is to reduce weight as much as possible. And that is why they have invested heavily in creating a state-of-the-art composite facility in Yorkshire. Created in conjunction with Sheffield University and located near Rotherham, alongside similar facilities owned by Rolls-Royce and Boeing, the McLaren Composite Technology Centre will make the lightweight carbon structures that will be used on our future models. As I look back on my aerospace career, I remember sitting in a room with Richard Branson, where he told us he was going to fly people to the edge of the Earth's atmosphere to experience weightlessness. People said it would never be done. He also said he would build a new supersonic plane to carry passengers from London to Sydney in 5 hours. Again, people said it was impossible. But I only noticed the other week that Virgin Galactic have signed an agreement with Rolls-Royce to develop a power plant for their new supersonic plane. For me, engineering and technology is a fascinating industry to work in, and that is why McLaren supports STEM subjects with schools and colleges. It is a way of encouraging children to study science, technology, engineering and maths. Again, if you have children that are interested in a career in engineering, there is a lot of video content online, either by STEM or by some of the graduates that work at McLaren. And I encourage you to support them to research STEM online. I hope during this webinar, I have given you some useful insight to some of the work that I personally have been involved in and some of the projects that some of the companies that are based in the Midlands or based in the Yorkshire are supporting, and that we are together backing Britain to come out of the COVID crisis and carry on into the future. Thank you, Yasmin. I'm ready for any questions.
Great, thank you for that, Andrew. A brilliant speech, and great that you mentioned Burnham and Turner as well. And you can read the story that Andrew was talking about today in the Back in Britain book, and they are featured as one of our manufacturing heroes, as they, like you said, worked around the clock to produce those ventilator parts. So we've had quite a few questions come through today. A couple of them are quite business related, so I suggest that for those questions, that maybe you could head over to virtual drinks today, which I think Andrew is also going to, just for those sort of networking questions. But the ones based on today's event, we will get those answered for you. So we'll get right away with those. So the first question comes from Martin Little, who asks, in developing cutting-edge solutions, how does McLaren address and ensure IP security with its suppliers' own contributing innovation?
So it's a good question, and it's an ongoing battle. I think the sharing of IP is based on two things. One is a robust legal framework, non-disclosures that allow two companies to work together, and all companies that work with McLaren are required to undertake a non-disclosure prior to even engaging in conversation. I think the second part of that is that over the years, we are looking to build partnerships with key suppliers that we can work on together to create technological solutions. So although some IP will be managed by and owned by McLaren, we also work very closely with suppliers to allow them to manage and develop their own IP. And in the instance of Acres, if any of you are interested in a drawer stillage, you can actually go onto their website and buy that drawer stillage right here, right now. I'm more than happy to share those design learnings with the wider world.
Great, thank you for that, Andrew. So we'll move on to the next question that comes from John Percy from 20 Express. And John says, hi Andrew, do you expect Brexit conditions to challenge McLaren's supply chain responsiveness in the short term? And how is McLaren working with its supplier base to align strategies to maintain quality assurance? Or like for lots of us, is it too early to say with many Brexit uncertainties?
I think the picture is becoming clearer the closer we get to January, but it is absolutely, there's no difference working in my world in logistics for McLaren compared to any other companies. I don't have any sort of insider information that you guys don't have access to. The key for me is to find and work with a transport partner that has experience of customs and exports and imports. And get in place very robust processes and procedures, and work together and let them as the industry experts support you through that. I do also do some work with Cranfield University, and there's again a lot of information in the media where DHL and Professor Richard Wilding have written white papers on various subjects including responding to COVID and getting ready for Brexit. So if anybody would like further information, I'm more than happy to point you in the right direction.
Great, thank you for that, Andrew. So we just have one more question today, and Rationale asks, do you think of LEO-based satellites would overcome the shortcomings of 5G in connected vehicle technology?
Probably outside of my technological knowledge, to be honest. There's a couple of factors to take into consideration. One is a product like a Mclaren is sold globally around the world, so it's not only the challenge of connectivity within the UK, it's also the challenge of connectivity within the US and within America. I think, like everybody else, companies like Mclaren are really interested in any kind of new technology, and if suppliers or people out there are working on these projects, absolutely, it's worth sharing information and, again, attending networking events to work with each other. I think also, Yasmin, that's probably a question to put to our Airbus colleagues next week.
Ah, okay, I'll make a note of that then. Maybe you can get it answered there, Naresh. Perfect. Okay, great. Well, thank you again, Andrew, for today's event. We've had so many attendees here today and who were fully engaged in this, and we're really excited to see you today. So we thank you very much for your time. But just before we wrap up, I just wanted to mention that if you guys could head over to Virtual Drinks today from 3 p.m, you have the opportunity to network with exhibitors, delegates. We have over 200 exhibitors, which I'm sure a majority will be there. We also have a competition going on at the minute with Brompton bikes, so you have the chance of winning a Brompton bike if you post your favourite stand on LinkedIn and tag 3 people in. So make sure you don't miss out on that. It's a bike worth £750. And of course, don't forget to log in and view your fellow members' stands, or if you're not a member, have a look at all of our company's stands. I'm sure you'll find great value from them. So thank you again, Andrew, and we appreciate your time today. You'll shortly see a write-up going up on our platforms on Andrew's event today as well. So thank you very much and have a lovely rest of the day.
Have a good day. Bye.
Bye.